I am Catherine Johnson, Precinct E Planning Board. Article 18 addresses proposed amendments to the Natural Resource Protection Development Zoning Bylaw. If approved, these amendments to Section 16F will correct deficiencies in the current bylaw that prevent its useful application. These amendments will enable what was intended: creative, well-designed cluster zoning that preserves a lot of open space. Basically, these amendments reduce dimensional requirements within the cluster, enable frontage on ways other than streets, such as pathways, yet maintain setbacks at the edge of the entire parcel to neighboring properties. Generally, the Natural Resource Protection Zoning Bylaw allows innovative, context-sensitive design for large subdivisions. That means those that have 5 or more lots within them. It minimizes destruction of open space and the total amount of grade disturbance. It minimizes grade changes and stormwater runoff. It preserves at least 50% of the entire parcel as open space by clustering the dwellings, and it is required as a matter of right. However, a less context-sensitive design may be allowed by a special permit if the planning board were to agree. Get out your magnifying glass. The top image shows a traditional subdivision. The bottom image shows the same subdivision with the same number of houses. However, the dwellings that you can see where the green arrow is are clustered. There is more open space and forested land has been retained. This is what the town intended when we passed this bylaw in 2013. However, our experience has told a different story. There has been only one application of the Natural Resource Protection Zoning Bylaw since it was first adopted, and that is 135 Great Plain Avenue. The developer for this project attempted to create cluster housing, but could not subdivide creatively because of the dimensional requirements imposed by the text and in the tables of the bylaw. Instead, the developer had to seek a special permit for a traditional subdivision, one that had only 12 houses. Planning spent almost 2 years working through the permitting process. We were frustrated with the forced lack of creative context-sensitive design, and in the end, though the subdivision was permitted, no one was pleased with the results. Ultimately, as we all know, the developer opted not to build a 12-house subdivision, but to apply for a comprehensive permit under Chapter 40B. Now under construction, there will be 44 duplex townhouse-style units at 135 Great Plain. 25% of them will be affordable, and that is a good thing. But through the 40B process, only 1/3 of the parcel remains open, preserved primarily because it happens to contain wetlands. If planning and the town had understood that amendments to the bylaw were needed to make it workable, we might have a more context-sensitive design at that site today. This is an image of the site plan for the traditional 12-house subdivision that was originally proposed for 135 Great Plain Avenue. The amendments we are seeking will correct what is unworkable in the current bylaw. They are straightforward, and they reflect the specifics used by other towns, such as Concord and Acton, where cluster housing has been built successfully. First, we need to replace Table 1 to better define the ability to cluster dwellings and to revise dimensional standards like minimum lot size and front yard setbacks. Second, we need to add Table 2 to guarantee that the setbacks that separate the entire parcel from neighboring properties remain consistent with what is required in all of our zoning districts. Third, we need to correct the description of common driveways to avoid dimensional requirements for the width and for the length. Fourth, we need to make minor changes to address lighting so that we will be consistent with Section 16G, exterior lighting. And fifth, we need to revise a couple of definitions. If town meeting approves these minor amendments to Section 16F, planning believes that the Natural Resource Protection Zoning Bylaw will produce the results that were intended, that it will protect open space within our cluster subdivisions, and that it will foster diversity in our housing stock. We ask your favorable vote on Article 18. Thank you.